So far, we learnt about insects in general. Within class Insecta, there are 28 different orders. We have picked out a few that we, in our experience, have found to be the most spoken about, especially during guiding. So, let's look at a few orders. The first one is the beetles, order Coleoptera. Beetles are insects whose front wings, the first pair of wings, are modified into a hard shell-like cover and underneath hides its delicate transparent flying wings. If you've ever seen a beetle take off to fly, you will see that it first opens its hard shell. It's called the elytra. The elytra opens almost like doors of convertible sports cars, and from underneath spreads out the transparent flight wings and it takes off. The beetle has a life cycle of complete metamorphosis. Do you remember that from our previous discussion? In complete metamorphosis, the insect goes through egg, larva, pupa, and adult stage. Over here, in this diagram, you can see the larva labeled first insta, second insta, third insta. These are just different stages when the larva is growing. Every time it molts, that is, it sheds its old exoskeleton, it goes into the next instar. The larva and the adult beetles feed on a variety of plant and vegetative matter, and even some feed on animal matter. There are, however, a few beetles who also hunt. Let's look at some examples of beetles. The first picture to your left. This is the picture of a species of the family dung beetles. Look what it's doing. Do notice that it's upside down. This beetle is rolling with its hind legs a ball of dung. These beetles, many species of these dung beetles, feed on dung. They also lay their eggs inside these balls of dung, so that when the egg hatches, the larvae has food all around it. Isn't that fascinating? The next picture here is that of a ladybug beetle grub. This is what the adult looks like. The ladybug beetle grub is a very good hunter of aphids. Do you know what aphids are? Can you see these little small insects all over here in the plants? You must have noticed these even in your plants, maybe in your garden at home, or if you have a field or a farm. They often come and they're quite a pest on plants. The ladybug beetle takes care of that population. Now we have the blister beetle to your left. The blister beetle, look how beautifully colored it is, a bright red and black beetle. Bright colors in beetles, as in many insects, are indicative of toxicity. They are like a warning sign. These beetles, these insects, would then be impalatable, meaning to say that predators like birds, for example, if they feed on them, they would not be able to take it. They'd either spit it out or vomit it out. Blister beetles get their names because they also secrete a toxin, a chemical that gives blisters on human skin. Blisters like the kind of boils you get if you get burnt, that way. That's what it's capable of. But that's only if it's disturbed. Otherwise, it goes about its day feeding on flowers, leaves, various other vegetable matter. To your right here, we have an example from the tiger beetle family. These, on the contrast to blister beetles, are ferocious hunters. The fastest running insect comes from this family of beetles. Firefly. Did you know that firefly is not a fly and glowworm is not a worm? Fireflies are beetles. Look at this gorgeous photograph here where you can see the hard forewing, the elytra, and the flying wings. This is the female of a firefly species. In many fireflies, some females retain their larval form all the way into adulthood. They never take flight. That's why sometimes they are also called glowworms. How amazingly diverse beetles are, aren't they? They are the most diverse order of insects. If I put a pie chart of different species of insects, beetles form nearly 38% of all insect species, of all known insect species. Now, look at the next color. Here in orange, you have another order, butterflies and moths. Let's speak about that. Oh, before I go on, if you'd like to pause here and just have spent some more time on this pie chart, please feel free to do so. Next order, butterflies and moths, order Lepidoptera. This order has insects whose wings are covered in scales. Have you ever caught a butterfly or picked up a fallen wing of a butterfly? Have you ever noticed that it leaves a powdery residue on your fingertips? That powdery residue are the minute scales that cover the wings of these insects. If you zoom in, if you put a wing of a butterfly under a microscope, this is what it looks like. What you see here are just increasing magnifications of these scales. This is what a single scale may look like, and this is what within a scale looks like. Butterflies and moths are also creatures with the largest wings compared to their body size. Another characteristic I would like to point out is, look at this straw coming out of his face. This straw is called the proboscis or the proboscis. This is the mouth part of butterflies and moths. They, in their adult stage, suck their food like through a straw. When not in use, they curl up their straw and place it just under their heads. Butterflies can be huge and colorful, like this one in front of you, the common rose with a beautiful bright red body. Or sometimes they can even be tiny, pale colored, but still very fascinating, very beautiful. Butterflies are probably the most popular group of insects. People love watching them. They've been mentioned in poetry, in literature, and whatnot across the world. Sharing space with the butterflies in the order Lepidoptera are moths. Far more numerous and even far more diverse than butterflies, but much less known. Popular interest in moths is only now increasing, especially in India. Moths are also often confused with butterflies, even if they're seen. There are, however, some useful differences. For example, if it is resting, the moth holds its wings flat against the surface that it's resting on. The butterfly, on the other hand, while resting, folds its wings and holds them together right above its body. The moth mostly are active at night. They are nocturnal. Butterflies, on the other hand, are mostly diurnal, active in the daytime. Also, a very interesting pointer are their antennae. Look at the antennae of this butterfly. Butterflies' antennae are like a thread ending in a bulge. They are called clubbed antennae. The moths, on the other side, are either thread-like or sometimes even feathery antennae, like the photograph, if you remember, of the orange moth in your quiz earlier. So these are just some of the many differences of moths and butterflies. Moths are also thought to be very drab colored, and the fact that they're active at night, they didn't get a lot of attention. But if you start paying attention to this group of insects, you will start to discover how amazing they are. Look at this picture on the left, a beautiful jet-shaped moth from the hawk moth family. And the one to the right, you have a black and white moth with a bright yellow body from the tiger moth family. Another example, the moon moth or the lunar moth. This is quite a large moth with this beautiful blue sheen and long tail. This is how beautiful moths are, and this is just a short glimpse. The world of moths and butterflies are open for you to discover. We, in our future talks, have included a talk especially on butterflies and moths to take you a little bit deeper into the subject because it's such a favorite while guiding. The next order. Order Hymenoptera includes insects that human beings are quite well familiar with. Wasps, bees, ants, also a group of insects that has many examples of social insects, species that live in large colonies. Like this ant over here. All of us know ants, and all of us have seen large, long lines of ants walking through our homes or out in the field, right? The main characteristic that has brought these insects together under this order is the fact that the hind wings and the forewings of these insects are connected by a series of hooks. Now you will ask me, but are you probably not seen wings on an ant? I won't be surprised. Ants get wings only seasonally. Let me explain it a bit better. In an ant colony, not all ants are breeding ants. Not all ants reproduce. It is the single queen ant that reproduces and maintains the population of her colony. Once a year or periodically, the queen ant produces eggs of fertile ants, ants that can breed. These ants, the fertile ants, when they become adults, they are winged adults. They are called ant alates. That's when certain ants get wings. They get wings so that they can fly around, look for a mate. They mate, and the female can then start a new colony. Let's look at the next group. Wasps. Wasps are an amazingly fascinating group of insects within this order. Some scientists say that there is such a great diversity of wasps that we don't know of, that there is a chance that there might be more diversity of wasps even compared to beetles. Yeah. Now let's look at a few examples. The picture to your left, it is a parasitoid wasp. A wasp that has a very interesting way of raising its young. Let's see what this does. In this photograph, can you see this long needle-like structure coming out of the abdomen of the wasp? This is the ovipositor. What the wasp does is, or is doing here, is that it is inserting this needle-like ovipositor into this tree bark, into the wood of the tree, to reach another insect that lives inside. It could be a beetle grub, it could be anything, any other insect, maybe a certain type of moth that's living inside. It will reach there, inject it, and put its egg inside the body of that host insect. When the egg hatches, the new larvae, the larvae of the wasp will start feeding from the inside of that insect. What a strategy this is, isn't it? Coming to the next one, the paper wasp. The paper wasp here is an amazing example of wonderful architecture. Paper, it makes paper, just like we do, out of wood pulp. And it makes these cells, these hexagonal six-sided cells, and creates a little bundle of these cells and lays eggs in each of these. After laying eggs, it can seal it, and over here the larva will be born, they will be fed, and they will come out as winged adults. Let's look at another example of wasp. The hornet. This is a rather large wasp. Beautiful black with a distinct yellow band. This photograph was actually taken in our garden when a hornet visited us, trying to collect wood pulp from a rotting piece of wood that we had in the garden to make a structure like that one. How amazing, how huge is this nest for a tiny insect, isn't it? Moving on, bees. I don't think I need to introduce bees to you. You know bees. Some species of bees are social, like this one that makes a hive and makes honey. And then there are some types of bees that are solitary. There are also types of bees that are stingless, who don't sting. There's lots to learn about this order of insects. They are social, they are really, really complex, but we'll have to take a look into that maybe another time. For now, I will move on. Next order, Hemiptera, bugs. Here, the picture that you're seeing shows the very distinct character of bugs. Do you see this straw-like protrusion coming out? This is the mouth part, somewhat like the butterflies, but the bugs don't roll it up and hold it under the head. They hold it straight, parallel along the bottom of the body. This photograph here is that of a cicada, very, very famous for its really, really loud sounds. The cicada makes its sounds with a drum-like membrane that can expand and contract, and it is present in its abdomen. Let's look at a few other bugs. Here to the left, we have a hopper. Hoppers are actually quite closely related to cicadas, but they look quite different, and I've not heard them making any sounds. Hoppers are also quite common to encounter. If you have a nursery around your house or short plants in your garden, they are quite easy to find. Another example here, to the right, is the shield bug. In this photograph, you can actually see the mouth part piercing into the plant. The next order is Orthoptera. It maybe should have been Orchestra. I'm just kidding. This order, I say that because is most famous for its sounds that it creates. These insects are heard a lot more than seen. Over here, we have an example of a painted grasshopper. Grasshoppers. Beautiful insect here, isn't it? The grasshoppers also make a sound by rubbing their legs on their wings. Some grasshoppers are this beautiful and so colorful, whereas some can be as beautifully camouflaged as this one. Just so hard to see. However, let's have a little glimpse of what they sound like, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. Heard this, right? I'm sure you have. All right. Before we move on to the next group of insects within this order, I want to show you one more grasshopper. Look how beautiful this is, isn't it? It's called the hooded grasshopper because of this distinct, raised hood on its back. Before I move on, I also want you to notice the antennae of grasshoppers. Grasshopper antennae are usually thick and very, very short. Do keep this in mind because we are going to refer back to this as we move ahead. The next group of insects within this order are crickets, also famous for their sounds. These ones, however, are mostly active at night, and their sound is sometimes the only sound you're hearing in the silence of the night. If you didn't know who was making this sound before, now you do. They are called crickets. They are these usually browny colored creatures with really long antennae, very, very long legs. Long legs, actually, all insects in this order have. They are great hoppers, jumpers. Many crickets also like to live, under rock surfaces or under logs or in dark spaces in crevices of walls or wood furniture. And some also burrow and live inside holes. The next one, katydids. Are you now noticing the difference in the antennae that I spoke about? Look at this one. Katydids especially are often mistaken for grasshoppers. But look at the antennae. It's a very clear giveaway. Katydids also come in many, many different forms, sizes, and colors. Look at these two right here in front of you. Beautiful, aren't they? And they too have a beautiful soft sound. While grasshoppers make this stridulation, we call it, the sound, by rubbing its legs against its wings, crickets and katydid rub their forewings. And as they rub their forewings, they create this tringing sound. All right, let's move on to the next order. Order Odonata. This order includes dragonflies and damselflies. In our world of tourism and guiding, in popular interest, if there is one group of insect that has caught on interest and popularity within travelers, it is this order. So let's learn a little bit about them. This order has insects that have really long abdomens. They have large heads, and the head is almost completely covered by their eyes. Very, very large eyes, very well developed vision. They have two pairs of very straight wings, and these wings, these two pairs, can move independently of each other, which gives them great ability of flying forward, backwards, up, down, and maneuvering very, very easily. The photograph that you're seeing here on the slide is that of a damselfly. Do notice that the damselfly has a really, really slim, long abdomen. Its eyes are placed almost at the opposite ends of its head, and when it's resting, its wings are together folded over its back. Now, let's look at what dragonflies are. Dragonflies, on the other hand, are usually a heavier, bulkier looking insect whose eyes are also very large but placed differently, touching each other. And their wings, when in rest, are kept spread out flat. We have even a special presentation on this order for you coming up later in the course. So do wait for it. There's some very interesting information coming your way. For now, we are going to move on to the next order. Termites and cockroaches. Insects that actually make you cringe. But trust me, they are just so fascinating from the moment you delve into their world and start learning about them. Termites are notoriously known for the damage they do to wood furniture in the house. Thousands and thousands of rupees get spent if you get a termite attack. But in the forest, they are invaluable. Termites live underground, they live on tree barks, they even, some species who make these beautiful mounds. This is epic architecture. Literally, architects from around the world try to take inspiration from the architecture of these mounds that the termites build. Termites are also social insects. They live in large colonies, but they are almost never seen. They live a hidden life. One of our best chances of seeing a termite is when winged adults, termite elites, sprout out from under the ground. Look at this. Look how they keep emerging. This usually is a periodic event. For some species of termite, it just happens once in a year. Can you see all these other tiny white insects with orange heads all around it? They are termites of the same species. These other white pale termites, they are the workers and the soldiers who are guarding this exit hole from where the winged fertile termites are erupting over here. Look at that crowd. All right, let's move on. The cousins of termites, cockroaches, often only associated with a problem in the kitchen. But there are many, many different species of cockroaches. Many live out in the wild, away from human habitation, and some of them are really, really beautiful. Look at this domino cockroach here. Look how pretty it is, isn't it? They also live quite a hidden life. As opposed to termites, they don't have a social structure like termites, but there are some species of cockroaches that do live in small groups. They also, like termites, avoid light. They live in the darkness. I'm not the only one who says cockroaches are beautiful or you love them. I want to show you a quirky example. Look at this photograph of the hissing cockroaches. These cockroaches are found in Madagascar and they actually make a hissing sound. These are actually favored as pets. Can you imagine that? Anyway, let's move on. Mantises, or the order Mantodi. Mantises are not nearly as diverse as, say, your beetles or wasps or moths. They are a rather small order of insects, but in the field, they are just so much fun to spot and watch. I mean, look at their structure, that triangular head, the large four limbs held against their face, just ready for attack. These are its hunting weapons, the strong forelimbs and a powerful jaw. I hope you get a chance to see some of these in action in the wild. And coming to the last one, stick insects are just the masters of camouflage. I mean, their name says it all, stick insect. Imagine, look at this insect. Imagine if it was really, really still, how difficult it would be to spot it. Look at its shape, the shades of color. It blends into its surrounding completely. In fact, some of them we've seen even walk as if it's a twig being swayed in the wind. They are so amazing. They are quite difficult to spot, as one would imagine, but really fun to watch if you spot one. It's almost like earning a reward. So I think that's enough for your plate for now. Let's try and learn more about these few orders first. And then, as you spend more and more time in the field, you are bound to come across lots of other kinds of insects and you will automatically learn about them. But this right here, you already have a great starting point. Insects are mostly known to humans for their direct use, right? How do we directly have any use with insects? Honey, no need to explain. Silk. I'm sure some of you know that our beautiful, expensive silk saris, the silk comes from the cocoon that's woven by silk moths. Another example of human use, lac. The bugs that secrete this substance for actually their protection is then collected and melted and worked with to make beautiful bangles and other artifacts, right? Lac bangles, they're very, very famous. But other than human use, they actually play a much bigger role in the environment. It's actually invaluable. You can't put a price to the job that insects do for us. For example, pollination. Pollination is a process where pollen grains get transferred from one flower to the other. And visiting insects like this bee here can do that. As they grow, go from flower to flower, it picks and deposits this pollen grains from flower to flower. This is the process that helps a flower to convert finally into fruit. Insects are hugely responsible for many, many fruits that we eat or other animals consume. Pest control, ecological balance. I'm sure you have a sense of this already because we saw this example where the beetle grub feeds on pests that are capable of killing a plant if they grow in large proportions, like if they become too numerous. Similarly, we have another example of a wasp, the parasitoid wasps, that tend to paralyze a host insect and inject its egg into it, right? This habit, this behavior will control the population of caterpillars like this who cannot become overpopulated and start finishing all the plant life. I have another photograph to share with you. Look at this beautiful photograph. You know what's happening here? This is one such caterpillar that was injected by a parasitoid wasp. The eggs have hatched inside, probably eaten it hollow all through from inside. And outside, the white bubble-like cases that you see are cocoons of that larva of wasp. These cocoons will soon burst open and out will come out adult wasps. Sometimes you come across these things when you're in the field. Do look out for them. And here you have a damselfly feeding on a mosquito. We really need this kind of ecological balance where no one species becomes too much and becomes harmful. Insects are food for many other species, like the bee eater here feeding on an insect, or here on the right you have a giant wood spider feeding on a lunar moth that has been caught in its giant web. This, I think, is probably the most important role that some of these insects play. The dung beetle taking care of the dung. Imagine how much slower it would be to decompose so much dung that's get deposited every single day on our planet. These contribute a large deal to decomposing them, to finishing it. And of course, the termites are quite angel, like the elf of the nights. They feed on dead matter and convert it back into nutritious soil. If we didn't have termites, over a period of time, forests, entire forests could choke to death. Imagine a tree grows old, dies, falls down, and another tree, and another tree, and another tree, and nothing is there to decompose that dead wood. There will be no sunlight reaching the ground. If there's no sunlight reaching the ground, no new sprouts will be able to come. And that's how an entire forest could die over, of course, many years if we didn't have termites. That's how important these are. They have huge threats. Imagine 9% of insects disappear every 10 years. And a large part of it is again due to us. Large-scale monoculture cultivation, where there's no great diversity of plant life. It's only one single crop growing for miles and miles. And on top of it, we put pesticides. We kill the insects. Actually, in natural farming, where you're not using chemical pesticides, if you have a healthy insect life in your garden, they will take care of the population of harmful insects that could harm your plants. Of course, needless to say, urban development will mention to night lights, artificial lights. These are such a big problem for nocturnal insects. For example, moths. Artificial night lights are the single biggest threat to moth populations. They come, as you've seen, and they hover along lights all the time till they exhaust themselves. They don't go out to feed. They're so confused. They don't go out to mate and to produce more of their generations. None of that activity happens if they get stuck and confused near these lights. Termites the same. Imagine they only once in a year there are certain species of termites that sprout out so that they can breed and have more colonies of termites. And thousands of termites sometimes come and collect at artificial night lights, and many, many, many die. Anyway, for us, however, looking at the bright side, insects for a naturalist remain just a fantastic, fascinating topic, whether it's for their beautiful camouflage or it is for their amazing behavior, like this assassin bug nymph here that has collected all this. Look at the debris. Look at the garbage that it's collected, from strands of hair, twigs, to dead bodies of other animals that it's probably eaten. It's all collected and made it into a shell for himself, a clothing item for itself, so that it can't be identified as food by other predators. These kind of stories and more is what keeps us so interested in insects. Even just their anatomy, their sense organs, the fact that they see so differently, they smell so differently, they feel so differently. Their amazing number of colors they can see. All these things make this world so intriguing. Even interaction within different insects. Like for example here, as you can see in this video, you know, the flying, these ones, they are those big hornet wasps. They come to hunt bees. They have arrived at this beehive and look at what the bees are doing. You see those coordinated wave patterns? They're trying to discourage the hornets, to sort of shoo them away. These are the kind of stories that one is likely to discover if one is looking out and is interested in this world of insects. So I hope you have enjoyed these talks and I hope you're excited to go out looking for these very interesting creatures. Thank you for listening and have a good day.